Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll go on to tonight's next agenda item, on to public forum. Is there anybody that is not on the agenda tonight that would like to speak? Oh, Nick Lees? Yeah, I have you on the agenda. Yep. Okay. All right, then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Everybody have a chance to take a look at that?
Yep.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
New phone and I don't know how to shut it off.
All right, everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I have a motion by Dan to approve.
Second.
I have a second by Troy. Any last minute discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign? All right, agenda is approved. Moved on to tonight's consent agenda. Anybody have any comments, questions, concerns?
No.
All right, then I will go ahead and make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
All right, I have a second by Troy. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign? Okay, consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to the public hearing. So I'll close the meeting, go on to the public hearing. This will be the Small Cities Development Grant Program for Affordable Housing Assistance Grant Application. Do we have anybody here that, oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff. Yep, we'll make it work.
Okay, I'm having a really hard time hearing you, so if there's any questions, please have Cindy ask me. So basically, what I'm going to do is give you some information that's required by Department of Employment and Economic Development, that we have to cover in the public hearing tonight. If there's any questions from anybody that's there or the council, answer those for you. There's just 20% match. Okay? So on the commercial side, it's basically 80% of the funds will come through the grant and 20% will have to come from other areas. Total proposal for this, we anticipate will be somewhere around $1,057,400. Now, if we don't hit our averages on either the housing side or the commercial side, we'll do additional projects. So our intention is to use all these funds if we're successful in grant application. So you guys know that it's a two-phase application. We're already through the first phase. So we're into the second phase. So our odds are greatly increased for these funds. I would anticipate that we're in that 90 percentile range now for being able to get these. But we'll find out a lot more. The timeline for these funds is another thing I have to cover. Basically, what's happening if the funds, we'll get notification about June whether we get these funds or not. So it's not a real speedy process. We're dealing with federal dollars through the state. If funds are received, we will start our environmental clearance right away. It's a process that we have to go through. We do that for Eden Valley, so we'll work with Cindy on that when the grant is successful. We anticipate that we would be holding some sort of town meeting or a notification, depending on what COVID does, because it's thrown a little bit of a wrench into the normal process, in September, usually somewhere in there. So that's about when we'll start taking applications for this grant. Inspections could start September or October, where we're getting into properties, and then once inspections are completed, the bidding process can start. The projected finish of this grant would be December of 2023, and the project closeout will be February of 2024. One of the things that we do have to note in the public hearing is that, just so everyone's aware, we do have to submit all projects through the State Historic Preservation Office. Our staff will do that. It's just a process of us sending them pictures of the property, telling them what we want to do, and then getting their approval to do those. Generally, that is just a process that we have to go through unless we have a really historically significant building. The majority of the buildings that we work with do not come back with a lot of historical significance unless we have a historic district. So, like some of the communities we work with literally have, like the city of Pipestone down in my area, has a very historic downtown. It's all on the register. You know, that town, any commercial project we do goes through there, but I don't anticipate much in Eden Valley as far as the Historic Preservation Office being what the word I'm looking for is, telling us what we can or can't do with buildings. But we do have to send every one of those through the process. If the commercial funds are awarded to, we do have to deal with Davis-Bacon wage rates, and that's nothing you guys will have to worry about. We will work with the owners and the contractors on that, and we will take them through that process. Other than that, those are the things that I'm required to cover tonight. Is there any questions that we have from anybody out there? And if we have some, please, Cindy, can you let me know?
Do we have anybody in the gallery that has any comments or questions on the Small Cities Development Grant Program? It doesn't look like we got anything there, Jeff.
Just be aware that, oh, I did forget to cover one thing. I forgot to cover my agency's experience. I guess I have to cover that too. Needless to say, we've been doing these since the early 1990s. So we are pushing 30-some years of experience. So if something pops up in these, we will be able to work through
All right, well, thank you, Jeff. So I'll go ahead and call up for a second time. Anybody here have any comments or questions on the Small Cities Development Grant Program? Thank you. And then for last time, anybody, any public comments on the Small Cities Development Grant Program? All right, hearing none, then we'll go ahead and close out the public hearing and go right into, well, by the way, thanks, Jeff, for covering that today.
Well, thank you for letting me, zoom in because it saves me a couple hours here, so thank you.
No problem. All right, so I'll go ahead and,
We'll look forward to working with you guys once we get this grant funded.
sounds good.
So, and if we don't, we're gonna be applying next year again, so.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, then we'll go ahead and resume our meeting. We'll move on to next. This will be the prosecution report for Stearns County with Janelle Kendall via Zoom. You are up.
All right, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I appreciate the opportunity to appear this way as well. What we have for you briefly is our annual diversion report that we do globally for the county, and then separately we will have the issues that we have in the city. Justin?
Yep, Cindy, you have to give me access to share my screen, please.
Sure. You lost them? Oh, they'll be back. Where does it say it? Let's see.
You go on me and make me a call.
Yes. Gosh. Oh, wait.
We gotta get some more practice in.
Are you kidding? Yes. Share. Why are we not sharing? Oh my gosh.
If you,
Talk to.
Good.
if you right click on my name, you can make me a co-host.
There you are. Oh my gosh.
Like me playing with it.
Well, I hear ya. And then I'm on two computers, so. Hey, there you are. There you go, man. You are on.
Sweet.
No.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah. We'll see.
All
Okay.
right, this is the annual diversion letter. As you know, the first thing that we do with first timers is take a look at whether putting them into the criminal justice system is really all that great an idea. We did not have any participants from Eden Valley this year. Our numbers changed significantly. It used to be more adults that would take this path to stay out of court. And this year, to the extent that we had low-level offenses at all, the adults went ahead and paid their tickets. We still did have some juveniles that qualified, but again, weren't able to do community service. So please know that when we can get to the point that we can let people out and wandering about again, we will have community service available for the city of Eden Valley. But this year, we just couldn't do it with those diversion cases. So I just wanted you to know that, you know, like many other things, we're in a temporary state of doing things differently. But it will come back, and it's going to come back fairly soon. This year, under the city contract for the city of Eden Valley, we only had one citation come through that we had to actually address. There may be many other citations that came through from both Chief Junker and the Sheriff's Office or the State Patrol, but everyone's numbers were down this year. As you can see, we have not had robust numbers, I mean, just because only part of your city is in Stearns County. But this is what we saw across the board. There were just less tickets written. When people did get citations, they were less likely to come into court and talk about it, and some of them didn't even get an opportunity to come into court because that's just all been slowed down. We have had the opportunity to continue to do trials, and we are continuing to have court by Zoom, but we just did not have a lot of that, again, across the board. I was in St. Augusta last night, and their numbers were down 25–30%, and yours were right where they've been in the past. So when we look at what's going on countywide, you'll see that numbers are down. We also made some intentional choices to keep some things out of the system that were not going to move anyway. As you probably know, when COVID happened and started shutting down businesses, it at least temporarily shut down courts as well. Go ahead to the felony numbers if you want this. It temporarily shut down the courts as well. So some things ticket that we had for you folks was a domestic violence case. And the domestic violence cases continued as anything else would. What slowed down were property and drug crimes. You can go to that final slide, where we knew that if we put them into the system by Supreme Court order, they wouldn't go anywhere. So we purposely held them back. And now as those people get arrested on warrants, as those people continue through the system, we're feeding them in. So even though in the upper left-hand there, it may look as though adult criminal filings went down, it's because we have about 300 more that we're gonna go ahead and put into court as we do the warrants on these folks. So our crime across the county in terms of serious crime, where somebody might end up in prison versus jail, is gonna be right at that 1,100-1,200 number for last year as well. Serious crime continues, cops continue to arrest people, we continue to deal with them through the system. What's changed are those property and drug crimes that right now, there's only so many things that can go through the courts, and the things that are going through are times when people got physically hurt. You can see that child protection just dropped right off the map because the kids weren't in school. So the sort of things that the social workers and the teachers and the mandated reporters would have found out from the kids being in school just didn't happen. And we are now seeing some of the schools react to that differently. They're literally going out to people's houses, they're going out and checking on kids that have just sort of fallen off the map, and they're getting pretty good at that. So we have seen those numbers go up already dramatically in January and now into February of 21. So even though they went down when the kids went away last year, we don't expect that to stay. The juvenile delinquency, though, on the far right, I just doubt the kids are not committing crimes at that level, but it's not coming through my office. We've asked law enforcement where they thought this went. A lot of it would have been the times that tended to be high crime, were times when we had protests going on and demonstrations going on, and a lot of law enforcement resources went into keeping that under control, especially in this area of the state. Those things happened, but you didn't hear about it because law enforcement kept that under a different kind of control. So the kind of things that went on with finding juvenile crime, again, the kids are not in school, there's less interaction, and law enforcement just had their attention focused in other areas where it needed to be. So I suspect there were some things that law enforcement responded to and didn't send to my office, but I don't know that. All I know is what came in, and as you can see, those numbers went down a few years ago, and again, with the kids not being in school, those just cut literally in half. And so when you go to the bottom of that page and you see what was coming through the county attorney's office last year, we did have an unusual amount of homicide cases, but 3 of those were one night at the red carpet. It was January 2nd of 2020, and there was a homicide at that establishment involving 3 different people, so 3 of those 8 are one event. 3 others are drug overdoses where the person died. If you're a drug dealer and you sell drugs to somebody and they die because of that, we can charge you with third-degree murder, and we do. We charged 3 of those this last year. And then as you can see, we kind of average a couple a year, and where you've seen those numbers start to go up are the amount of drug deaths, very commonly heroin overdoses. And when we can track back to where that came from, people are responsible for that. As you can see there, the person crimes were pretty much as high as they've ever been. And the property and drug numbers are going to come back up as we arrest those people on warrants, but they just didn't need to be sitting there without moving. We thought we could be more effective when we had people in divided detention and they're sitting in a jail cell. So that's what we decided to do with those. So that's my report, and again, if there are questions, I'm happy to take them, or I'm also happy to come out another night when we can interact in person if you would like. I really appreciate the opportunity to do this, and good job on the technology. You made it work. Good for you. I mean, you did. And we didn't get Zoom bombed, which is great. That happened last night in St. Augusta. You don't want to experience that. I can hear you. I think I can hear you. People have questions.
All right, anybody? Council? No? No, looks like we're good here.
All right, then thank you so much. Chief, hopefully I'll see you when we get back to in-person chief meetings that I can actually come to. But for right now, we appreciate continuing to work with you. And don't wait for me to come with your reports. If there are questions or comments or concerns, please get those to me at any time that you would like.
All right. Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. This will be about sidewalks. We have a couple of have a few people here tonight. How we're gonna run this next part here, we have a podium there. If I could have, let's see, I got Mike Lees, Bob Pershon, Nick Lees, and Ron. If I could have you one at a time,
And Mike,
all right?
snow removal on that sidewalk, who owns the sidewalk? Does the county own the sidewalk or do I own it? Whose right of way is it on?
Well, it's in the road right of way,
Okay,
yeah.
and that's the county, right? County road,
Mhm.
right?
I'd have to figure that out. Do we know? Because if it's in the road right of way, would that be county or would that be city?
Where are we at? Are we on?
Stearns Meeker.
County road now.
Usually what the county will do is, maintenance of the sidewalk is the city's responsibility, is typically the county's policy. Same with the state.
Okay,
Is the city responsible?
I guess I can't speak to that. I know what the policy is, when counties and the state construct sidewalk in their right of way, they place the maintenance of that sidewalk
Within the city limits.
within the city limits. That's the city, that's the maintenance of the sidewalk is the city's responsibility, according to those agreements that I've seen, when the county constructs sidewalks within city limits.
So then the city's got it.
and what we've got is we have an ordinance on the books that the property owner that the sidewalk's adjacent to, you know, I've got a sidewalk in front of my house, you know, so we've all gotta, you know, we've gotta shovel our
Okay, but
sidewalks
I'm
too, yeah,
responsible for that sidewalk?
for keeping it clear, yes.
Okay, from this day forward, the county puts no snow on my land or on that sidewalk. You haul it out, or the county hauls it out. It's one of the two. I was out nice enough, I didn't care if they rolled that snow up on my property, but they're not touching my property with anything. They move the snow out of it.
Okay. I don't know how that will work,
I don't care how it works.
okay,
You're the guys that wants all this stuff moved and everything clean.
well, it's in the interest of public safety that the sidewalks be
No
clear.
one
so
ever walks
people-
on that sidewalk anyway.
Well, then if we allowed like that not to, you know, not to clean that up,
They're not gonna put no snow on my property whatsoever.
okay?
And
So,
it drifts in there about 4 feet deep when we get a good snow. I'll clean the sidewalk, there's no problem there, but they will not put no snow on my property or on that sidewalk at any time.
Okay.
And that bill, I'm not paying that $100, because that's a crock of bullshit. You send me a bill,
all right,
2 days later, you clean the goddamn sidewalk.
all right. I'm gonna ask you not to use any profanity during the meeting.
I apologize.
That's fine, that's fine. I know that, I understand how, you know, this is frustrating for you. I just kind of try to keep a level head here. So,
So you make your mind up how you're gonna handle the snow.
all right. All right, so then I've got, Bob Peshon, did I pronounce your name right? Peshon, okay.
So what is considered clean? You said it says right here, use diligence to keep sidewalks safe for pedestrians. So is that all the snow and ice off the sidewalk or not?
Doing a reasonable attempt to try to get the snow off, the snow and ice off.
So what if somebody walks on it after it's clean and falls? Who's liable? You know what I mean? Cause I got people walking on the sidewalk at 7 in the morning going to church. And the last snowfall we had, there was footprints on the sidewalk at 7. So if they walk on that sidewalk and fall down, who's liable for that? The owner or the city? Because it's a city sidewalk, right? City sidewalk. City sidewalk. So I don't know what you consider clean, down to the cement, or is ice and snow allowed on it, being it's Minnesota, you know? It's not California, so. I mean, I keep mine down to the sidewalk. I don't have that big a sidewalk, and I can keep it up, but I just don't want people walking on it and falling, and then, you know, being liable for it, when it's considered the city's, I guess.
I think that's the point of trying to have the sidewalks cleaned, is that, you know, to try to prevent a slip or a fall to where either the city or the homeowner ends up in a legal situation.
Right, and it could happen. I mean, this is Minnesota. I mean, somebody could be walking down there when it's dark out at 7 in the morning and fall. So who's to blame? If you're not out there in time. I know there's a certain time limit, but.
Yeah, we do try to account for that, 12 hours after a snow event to, go through and clean it up.
Somebody walks on it before you get it cleaned off before the 12 hours, and they fall, and hurt themselves. I'm not, I'm just saying, a lot of the sidewalks are not clean down to the cement, there's ice on them, snow, and granted, this is Minnesota, but still, I don't know what you guys consider clean. What's considered a clean sidewalk? Down to the cement?
And you would try to get down to I know I try to get down to the cement when I can, yeah.
I think technically it's supposed to be the width of the sidewalk and down to the concrete or blacktop. But you gotta be within reason too. If somebody steps on it, I understand that.
Consider where you're at, you're not.
Right. No, I'm just saying, I think if you're looking for an answer, that's the technical, that's the width of the sidewalk down to the surface. Yeah. Right, but I think if you're, I don't think anybody's trying to hang anybody. If you're cleaning it, like what you're doing, if somebody steps on it, you can't, you can't control, it's a sidewalk, people are gonna walk on it,
Whose liability is it, though, is what he's asking? Yeah.
Well, if you don't maintain it,
No, if you can get out.
no, I think if something like that happens, you gotta be level-headed and be like, it's not,
You never know,
I do know, though, if you look at a lot of the other things, that if you don't do it, you could be liable. But I think if you're cleaning it and there's an issue,
You're not.
Well, I don't think we're gonna have an answer for you tonight, Bob, on that, but what I'll do is I'll have Cindy talk to our city attorney and get that answer for you.
You need to know, because
Yeah.
I got people walking on there before it's even clean, and it's dark out here.
Mhm.
If they fall and hurt themselves, whose fault is it?
Yeah, so we'll,
Her or me?
yeah, I won't use the phrase circle back with you, but we'll get back in touch with you after Cindy talks to the attorney. All right. All right, and then, let's see, do I have a Nick? All right,
Alright, Troy, glad to see you're here. I have a little question for you. You've been doing sewer and water for, what, 25, 30 years now?
God, no, 24.
Sure. I'm in the same boat. I've been doing it that long, and in that time, have you ever seen sidewalks ripped out off a person's property?
As far as,
As a homeowners telling the city that they wanted the sidewalk out, and they were not gonna allow the sidewalk and curb to be put back in.
not very often.
No, that's not very often, but have you seen it happen?
No. On a recon, if you are, I have never seen a sidewalk pulled out just in the middle of, like just going down Main Street, let's just take out 50 feet and
Not
put it back
Main Street, I'm
in.
talking about on housing areas. You're telling me you've never seen where a homeowner refused to let them put the sidewalk back in?
No,
I have.
no, I have
I
not.
know it can be done. It can also be done that the sidewalk gets pulled off. I don't wanna be a jerk, but this sidewalk, I have to travel a half mile to go clean that sidewalk that you want me to clean. It ain't gonna happen, sir, I'm sorry. It's the city sidewalk, it's on your right of way, you guys put it in there. I know I can tear it out if I want to, I don't want to, but if you push it far enough, I will take the city to court, I will prove my point. I don't wanna be that way, but I'm not wasting a half an hour of my time to go down and shovel out snow that you're blowing up on there to get your street clean on the sidewalk. I'm not gonna use, no one uses. It's beyond stupid to waste all the time that you guys are putting into this. I don't like to be a jerk and I don't like to be hard, but I'm being straightforward about it. I'm not gonna mess around with this.
And I appreciate you, I appreciate your candor on this, Nick.
And I agree with the other person, I'd like to know who's gonna be liable, and I'd like to know where I'm gonna deliver the concrete to. I'm not gonna beat around this bush.
So,
Very straightforward, and I'm not paying the fine because, one, I did not know what sidewalk I was possibly responsible for maintaining. It's beyond me,
Which one you maintain?
the one down by you, I got, they're saying that I own 25 feet of that sidewalk down there, gonna charge me $100 some to go down and clean that 25 feet between you and Ken.
You own 25 feet? How do you own 25 feet in there?
There's a narrow band that goes up through the creek, right, you know, right where that little piece comes up out your, right where the water, where the creek is there, right that little narrow piece that comes up there, that supposedly goes all the way up.
So they got $300 to clean a half a block.
all right, I'm gonna,
Snow blower.
so that particular situation, you're probably gonna wanna have a surveyor come out and figure out where your guys' property lines are, so you guys know who
Well,
owns what.
it's pretty simple,
Right.
there's a little, it's only about a 20-foot stretch that comes out on by his fence, and it supposedly keeps on going, on my abstract. But I know my dad also signed some papers for the Beckmans when that property was sold, and I'm not sure if I even own that property anymore.
That's what I was wondering where you were
The city's telling
shoveling.
me I do, as long as the city tells me I do, I'm deal. But you'd also like the city attorney to check and talk to the, Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center city attorneys about how the sidewalks were removed from houses. Because I know one, I was working for a small home company, we ripped off the sidewalk. They told me he was gonna pay for the new sidewalk, he said, it's not my sidewalk, it's your responsibility. They got a big pissing match and he had all the sidewalks removed along his house. And the city did not win that fight. So I'm just telling you, you best be careful how big a can of problems you may open up on this. 'Cause
I'll go along with you.
I'm not paying the $100 fine when I'm not
All right,
maintaining that sidewalk.
all right. Okay, thanks, Nick. Is there a Ron?
And another thing, one second, can I add one? The fact is, you guys are actually breaking law by mandating that we have to do this. This is slave labor, what you're stating, straight up, it's slave labor. And you're mandating that I have to do something. No, laugh if you want, it is what it is.
It's not,
You are,
it's not.
what is it? What
All right.
It's a
you're
public
telling me
nuisance.
that I have
Hold
to
on.
physically go to work, and if someone blows his back off, or someone has a heart attack, this city could get sued for a hell of a chunk of money.
All right, let's keep it calm
Excuse my
here.
language, I apologize, ladies, I apologize.
All right.
I live on 55, I'm Ron.
What's his last name?
Ron, what's your last name?
Coltis.
Coltis,
right.
thank you.
I've been here for how many years, and all of a sudden, all these rules come up about sidewalks, this, that, and threatening letters about $100 and stuff. I don't think you guys are getting a little carried away with that and stuff. I got the state plows going by my house, when it snows, they're going by there nonstop. And stuff, when we get plenty of snow, and then all of a sudden we get the snowmobilers, I've had Ernie even grab us the little things, says no snowmobiles and stuff, put on this post and everything, and they still go down them damn sidewalks. Then you expect us to go out there and shovel that after they're going down there with their snowmobiles constantly, because they can't follow the trails that you guys post, where they're supposed to go along the tracks on the back side. But they're not, they're going down 55, down my side, and across the street down that side. Now, the last time I seen this letter came out, when did you guys break this up, in August? This came out in August? And we just got it, what, Monday? And we're supposed to have it cleaned within a couple days, or you get warned? And stuff, you get threatened with $100? How come we didn't get this before winter?
Well, we did have a, you know, for the ordinance itself, we did have public hearings and notices were sent out.
There couldn't have been a letter sent out to the residents of the Eden Valley, stating, sitting there going, okay, we changed a few things and stuff, and instead of getting something that all of a sudden that says you don't have this done within certain days, you're fined $100. Now, I'm supposed to try to keep on top of the plows, and everybody else packing it down in the snowmobiles. Now, I wrecked my snow blower the last time I did it because T-homes come along the corner, they shove up a big heap on the ends there and stuff, and I'm supposed to try to clean that. I broke my snow blower. It didn't come out of the city's pocket to fix it, it came out of my pocket to fix it. Then I have to go buy salt and keep it clear down to the concrete, so it's debris-free and stuff. I sweep it off during the summer to keep it so that the gravel and everything's off there after the plows shove the shit on there and stuff. I try to do my part, but when I get shit like this, that pisses me off. I don't like being shoved.
Let's keep the language down, please.
Great. You gotta understand why we're a little mad. Because I've been here for how many years? And all of a sudden,
I've been here damn close to 50 years.
yeah, almost 40 for me.
Touched that sidewalk for
25,
25 since they put it in. I told them, I said, I never touched that sidewalk. What do? They send me a bill because I gotta clean the damn thing.
They made
Well, I'm
me,
gonna clean it, but I'll tell you one thing, no county's gonna put any snow on it.
they made me move my fence so they could do this new sidewalk. So I had a little argument with the state. The state, I don't even want to talk to me anymore, and stuff. But it's their right of way. They're saying it's our property, this, that, and all this crap, you gotta do this. They even sent me a nasty letter, they were gonna impound my fence, take it over to Painesville, impound it. Seriously. And stuff. It's their right of way, and stuff, and the state does, when it does get pretty packed up, whatever, they usually rip the wing out, and they do go down the sidewalk, and they pull it on the road, and they usually get rid of it. They do that quite a bit. Now, the last time when it did snow, we didn't get that much snow, we didn't throw the wing up there and blade it. But I did go out there and clean it, I did throw the salt down, because that's what you asked. And stuff. But I felt like this was a threat. That you're threatening. And there's so much other things, piddly things and stuff, but yet if I don't move my snow, it's $100 fine. For every snowfall, right?
That is,
Exactly. Not once, for every time it snows. And I can't, I can't go out there constantly and run out there after the snowfall goes by. How many times during the day and how many times at night? And then all of a sudden it's the heavy wet stuff. And I'm supposed to go out there and try to blow that. That don't blow so easy. And it's hard after a while. I ain't getting any younger. And stuff. So after a while and stuff, that stuff. And then when I'm blowing, when I'm also salting that and they're throwing all the salt and everything off the road onto the sidewalk, and you want me to blow all that salt and everything onto my property and on my fence. That's a steel fence. What does steel and salt do? It rusts. So eventually my fence is gonna get all shitty looking because of all the salt.
so Ron, I do have a question for you. You've mentioned a couple of times in your comments about the time period.
You got 12
Is it
hours.
12 hours?
I seen that.
You know, if we were to openly discuss about maybe pushing that out, not instead of 12 hours, maybe put it out, you know, because you've mentioned a couple times the plow is constantly going through, you know, maybe
There's no boulevard there.
yeah.
Everybody else pretty much on the side roads and stuff, they have that boulevard. They're not getting that.
Well, you know, some of the, I live on a state street too, and when those plows come through, they're going full tilt and they're throwing, I have a boulevard and I still have a bunch of snow that ends up on my side.
They're throwing everything. There's no boulevard there. They're throwing everything up on that side.
Yeah. So,
And I've talked to all the neighbors and they feel the same way I do. And stuff, but we all get together as neighbors and we help each other out, we clean each other's driveways and stuff. And I try to do blow a path, but after you get done cleaning it, who comes along? Snowplow. Throwing that shit right back up here again.
yeah, and I just by your comments, I mean, I'm looking at that, maybe that 12-hour time period is a little too aggressive. And, you know, give it time for the plows to do their thing, to where they're not going by so much, and then clean out, then you're not constantly going back out there
Nobody has a
again.
problem doing that
Yeah.
stuff, but, you know, like I said, when you're getting, all of a sudden, you're getting that heavy wet stuff,
Mhm.
it doesn't move so easy with the plow, with the snow blower. And stuff, and then, you know, and then, like I said, you know.
I gotta
I'm
cheap,
throwing all that salt there on top of my fence, and that's gonna start rusting out.
I got a cheap old Craftsman, it doesn't throw snow worth a darn, so. I know what you mean about the heavy stuff at the end of the driveway, so.
State don't answer my calls anymore. No, cause me and him got argued about the fence.
For $100 more, I guarantee you. You don't care what I'm
The
doing.
guy was standing out there and said, come here, he goes, I wouldn't even talk to you.
So, all right,
Somebody else next?
that was the last name that I had on the list here.
Anybody
So-
else? Yeah?
Well,
That's it.
I'm gonna actually bring it back, I'm gonna bring it back here to council now. After hearing the comments from everybody on here, what's your initial thoughts? And some of the initial thoughts that I have is that, you know, we need to figure out, you know, liability, which we need to talk to our county attorney. Maybe look at, maybe 12 hours is too aggressive for, you know, too aggressive, especially along state highways where plows will go by multiple times in a, you know, probably at least a 24-hour period until they're down to the asphalt. And then, you know, to Nick's comments about, you know, sidewalk removal. Comments?
Need to-
Opinion from our county attorney,
Yeah, that's what I
to
was
say
gonna say
about
too.
that.
County attorney.
Our attorney, I should say,
Yeah, on the liability part,
right?
you know, I mean, we have direct control over, like, you know, when they have to have the snow removed. And if it's constantly having plows go by, especially on the county and state roads where they'll go by multiple times. I don't know about Thielens, if they go multiple times on the residential streets that they have plowed for us, but if we give a little bit more time to get those.
I don't know if time is gonna help much. You know, I live in a state highway also, the plows going by all the time. And, I just look at it as I try to make the best effort I can to keep it clean. So some of this stuff is pretty hard to blow, but just make the best effort you can and, go from there. The plows do, I don't have a boulevard there, it's sidewalks right by the curb. So they're pushing it on there all the time.
Jen?
I think we should give them a little more time.
Fred?
I'm just kinda going over, I looked at a lot of different municipalities and what theirs are, and 12 is kinda standard. And if you wanna go 24, go 24. I don't think it's gonna make a bit of difference, I think it's actually gonna make it worse. My opinion.
Okay. So the next, do we want to revisit our ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, I have an, well, I didn't,
I didn't mean to stand here and hold up for you.
well, I didn't have you on the agenda. I didn't actually have you on the agenda. Did you call and get asked to put on the agenda?
I are you serious? I called and asked if we had to be on the
Well,
agenda, you said no, well,
Oh,
the mic wasn't.
I tell you what, Randy, go ahead and have your couple minutes.
I called you, what you doing?
Well, I thought you would, regardless, why don't you go ahead and have your couple minutes, Randy?
I apologize. You and I had a conversation sort of here, and I did not put you on the agenda. I apologize for that. If you asked me for it, I apologize.
You're up now. Yep. I would have been at 7:30, never even get a talk. Maybe you gotta go home then. All right,
Who are you? I don't know you.
I bought this, I
Who
live
is he?
inside my.
That's Randy Otkin.
And, we have a sidewalk that goes nowhere. It was put in when the bridge was put in, I suppose, because there's a 10 cent extra grant money, the city didn't know what to do with it, so they put the sidewalk on cow pasture. When I bought that place, that was a cow pasture. And when I bought it, the snow was so high on the sidewalk, that I didn't know it was there. Because all was cow pasture, and the sidewalk was there, that goes nowhere. So I've been there 19 years, and never one time got a snow notice, and never once touched the snow, because we had common sense. All our storms come from the northwest, and if you keep piling that snow up, and piling it up, and there's a sidewalk yard, it just comes in deeper and deeper all the time. So at 19 years, not a notice. We got a changing of the guards, and all of a sudden, city workers, all of a sudden, everybody's getting letters.
Well, Randy, I'm
I don't
gonna,
know what the hell I was doing right the first 19 years, was I was paying off the street man.
Randy, I'm gonna have you stop right there. Our staff here work under the direction of the council, so they're not trying to make a name for themselves, they're not trying to line their own pockets or their own budgets, they're under the direction of council.
We had a changing of the guards and everything changed. First of all, they're gonna try to show the people that they run the city, and then they'll work on the council and show the council that they run the council. Mark my word for it. And I don't know where the sidewalk goes, because it ends at my driveway and no one walks on it. And almost after 19 years, it's been blown 4 times in 5 days. Jeff Windrow blows my snow in my yard. Never touched the sidewalk. The city came in and blew it, and Jeff has blown it 3 times after that. Never talked to me, and I never talked to him. He blew Mike's. Mike never hired the man in his life, and he blew Mike's anyway. And Jeff is not that way. He would not go out there and blow Mike's. Not asking him about it. So somebody from the city here sent Jeff out there to blow it every time we get a 3-mile-an-hour wind.
Is that true?
No.
No? Okay.
Okay. Who sent Jeff out there? He never talked to me. He never talked to Mike.
Who's getting charged for it? You guys? Is Jeff charging you for it?
Well, we'll see. Jeff bills once a month. Jeff's been blowing my snow for 5 years, so.
Because we didn't,
Jeff would not do that. I could see where Jeff would come and blow mine. He heard that we got into trouble, and I could see where Jeff would come and blow mine because I'm a customer. But he blew mine too. And Jeff would not do that.
He did Brian's too, he blew Brian's too.
And do Brian's too. Jeff would not do that unless he was told by somebody. There's no way he'd do that.
Zach, can I have you give Jeff a call and see where that's coming from? I'd be interested to know.
It wasn't Jeff physically, it was one of his workers.
One of his workers.
Well, Jeff owns the company, so I'm sure somebody in the command chain there told somebody to do it.
But he did mine, that's more than fine,
Yeah.
because I'm his customer. And he heard we were in trouble anyway, we heard about it. He went over to Mike, Brian's, without even asking him, or versing back and forth.
No, he just went right down the side.
He went right
know if we're getting billed for you, but I'm sure we will. That's his business.
Yeah.
You might get billed. You might get billed.
All right,
It goes nowhere, and then the higher you pile it up, the more, the deep, when I came,
They'll be hauling snow now.
when I came, the house and nothing was there, none of my trees, and that snow would be 6 foot high in there. And the house stopped some of it, the trees stopped a lot of it. And and material too, but that's how deep the snow was when we got there. So even since the last 19 years plus, the other two, no one touched that snow. And it's been sidewalk when I came, I don't know, when did they put it in?
22, 23 years ago.
Before my time that I bought that.
If I'd have known that, they never got that frickin' sidewalk.
Why did you put it on a different pasture anyway, but that's not your problem.
all right. So, and try to wrap things up here on this part of the agenda. So the spirit of the ordinance is to you try to uniformly apply the same standards across the entire city for everybody that has sidewalks. You know, and trying to figure out a good way of being able to, you know, make sure that sidewalks are cleared for walkers, you know, because, yeah, I mean, you know, Nick, Prashant, you were saying that, you know, you have walkers that walk on there. I have walkers that walk on mine early in the morning. You know, I got Lana Brucker walks every morning down my street, you know, so I'm trying to have a safe walking environment for people that do walk, regardless what time of the year it is. So, and then trying to figure out how to best do that, because I know, like, having a sidewalk up against without a boulevard is a pain in the butt, you know, because you got plows. We recognize that. But the way our sidewalks are configured, for no fault of anybody's, you know, just the way the streets were laid out, the way things were, you know, you've got 50 feet where it's up against the curb, and then you've got next 50 feet there'll be a boulevard, and then it'll be right back to the curb, again. So it's like, well, do you create an ordinance where some people don't have to shovel theirs because of where their sidewalk is? Well, then you don't have a connected walk path anymore, because then the people that, you know, it would be unfair for the people that have boulevards, that they would have to have theirs, and then we'd have the situation like what you were talking about, Randy, sidewalk going to nowhere, you know? So the idea behind that ordinance was to apply uniform policy across the entire city for safety, public safety for people that are walking. Now, was that the absolute right decision to do? I think it was, and I know that's probably not what you guys want to hear, but I'm open-minded enough to go that if there's something we need to do to where we can make sure that our sidewalks here in Eden Valley are safe for people to walk regardless of the time of the year or the time of day, you know, I want to have that. I want to have that put in place. You know, so if we've got to go back and revisit the ordinance and make some tweaks to it to make that to where we can still have a safe walking environment for everybody in town, yeah, let's do that. So that's where I'm sitting right now.
Why don't we put a trail cam on my sidewalk for 30 days? We'll have 3 cats and a dog go down it. Rabbit goes across, we won't have no people there. And when I
You
came
know
up
about the fines?
to the courthouse or
Bring it up.
house area,
Bring it up.
presented my bill back, I was told that the other people, why it took 19 years, because the other people weren't doing their job right, is what I was told.
I have a question. What are we gonna do about the fines? That was never brought up by you guys. The fines?
So they have mentioned it a couple times that they're not going to pay the fines. So I think that, I'm willing to try to extend an olive branch here and maybe put a temporary moratorium on fines for now until we have a chance to revisit the ordinance and see what we need to do to, again, make sure that we have safe walking sidewalks for people regardless of the time of year, regardless of the time of day. And then once we've got that figured out, you know, I would like to, in that event, when we come up with some design changes to that ordinance, I'd like to get your guys' input on that. You know, get that, you know, to see what, you know, if we're getting closer to, I know it's not ever gonna be perfect. And, you know, some people are gonna like it, some people are not gonna like it. But trying to get to a point where, again, we're applying it across, you know, it's applied across to everywhere, you know, regardless. And we got safe walking, you know, the safe sidewalks, especially now with the pandemic. A lot of people are, you know, they're stuck indoors, they're not able to do things like they've been able to do in the past, so people are walking. And I know that they might not walk every inch of every sidewalk in town, but people do. So I would be okay with doing the moratorium on the fines until we've had a chance to revisit the ordinance.
I think you're opening a can of worms with that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna tell you. And everybody's gonna quit shoveling. And then there's gonna be issues. I mean, I know we have issues now, but
Well,
it's gonna be
I think what we're gonna have, you know,
Isn't that pretty much everybody was cleaning their sidewalks? All you did is piss them off by sending them this.
well,
I don't know, it was in the newsletter too, that was sent out, I guess. I mean, nobody's out to headhunt anybody. It's just, we're trying to make it right, so.
After 20 years of mistakes, now we're gonna try and make it right, huh?
Just because you've been doing it for 20 years wrong, don't make it right either. Just because it's been wrong for 20 years, don't make it right.
all right, so, Jan?
Taking of the garbage is what we did.
You were on board with the moratorium, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put a resolution on the table here, for resolution to pause the fines for the snow ordinance until we've had a chance to revisit said ordinance, knowing that we could potentially be opening a can of worms. And people, you know, having more than just a few people, stop shoveling, we could have the whole town stop shoveling. Have a chance to look at other solutions to this. That was my resolution. I know I was rather wordy, sorry, Cindy. All right,
I have a second.
all right, I have a second by Jan. Any last minute discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign? All right. And on a tie, unfortunately, that does not pass, so. But we will have, I will we will look at the ordinance again, though. At least, so,
Thank you for coming.
yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for listening.
Where will this take place in court then?
All right. All right, and then, do we have the Manana Township Board here? All right, just you tonight?
I guess so.
All right. How you doing?
Not too bad, how are you?
Not doing too shabby.
Okay, now, who are you behind the mask?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Township supervisor, Manana.
Yeah, so you want to talk about 602nd Avenue, that gravel road there, right on the city line?
Yeah, you annexed that property on the other side, right?
Yep.
Okay. We're just wondering if now you're gonna take over the maintenance on that road too.
Well, maybe I should make sure I got my bearings straight here. So
It's on the other side of the city sign.
when you're talking further south, or to the,
West of Dollar General, the next half mile.
oh, okay, all right.
Half Mile Road.
Yep. So I think we talked about this as a council before, that we're willing to do that when we get to a point where, you know, we're gonna start having some development activity back there. And it looks like, you know, perhaps we'll get something going here in the next year or so. So, would that be okay, or what's your thoughts? What are you thinking?
I'm guessing that the tax money don't go to us anymore. Would it be in the next to the city, right?
I think Kent, you're gonna have to keep me honest here.
Yeah, repeat the question.
The tax revenue from that land don't go to the township anymore, would it be in part of the city limits now?
It's always been in the part of the city limits.
Can you,
Right, this is,
can you pull up the map there, Zach?
Further south.
no, Steve's property has always been in.
Yeah, Steve Schmidt's property.
It's on the other side of the road.
There was what, 20 acres to the south of his property, but that would have been farther south than from that road, though.
Correct.
Around behind the ballpark and stuff,
Yeah, it'd have been further south, a little further south than that. So, yeah, we didn't annex anything to the what'd it be, the west of 602nd.
East.
Or east. No.
That's always been city
Oh, to the east has been the city, to the west has been the township.
township.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't go west, we went south.
Extra part that he.
Yeah,
that side of the road is changed.
So,
yeah, yeah, so the east side of that road would still be the township.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Have everything. If you're gonna get development, anything back there.
Yeah, you know, and if we did get a development going back there, we'd probably wanna improve that from a gravel road to, tar and that, at that point, definitely, I mean, I would assume that, we would take over maintenance of that road. Because we would, as part of your agreement with the developer, that there would have to be some type of road improvements that'd have to go in place.
All right, I guess that's all they're wondering.
Okay. Okay.
Because we're getting some from the county, our maintenance. For the dead end roads, our maintenance
Yeah.
agreement with the county. They're giving us grief about all
Okay.
the dead end roads.
Yeah, 'cause right,
that's what I heard too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember, I think Cindy, you were telling me about that.
And they are not this year, who knows what once a year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we went to the east, yeah, then this would be wouldn't even be a conversation starter, that we'd take over the full of that road, but since we didn't go east, we went south. The east side of that road is still on the township side.
I'm looking at a map here.
So you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
So really what the township is asking is that the city take over that, how many feet?
It's like 1,300 or something like that.
1,300-foot road, okay.
And if it don't work out till then, till something else goes back in there, that's fine. We have no problem with it, because it's gonna be a couple years before they get our maintenance thing figured out in the county, too.
All right.
So, I guess that's all we're wondering.
Okay,
Glad that you brought it up.
yeah, yeah. We, well, are your meetings like this sometimes?
It can be, but there's just it's a couple different problems.
All right,
It's not quite like that, no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, thanks for coming in. All right, so then we'll move on to 2021 utility and street project. Update,
Do him, or do you wanna do unless you guys wanna sit through the,
yeah.
Good move, the three of them.
You know, why don't we do that? You guys have been patiently waiting, So we'll go ahead and skip to that. So I will actually kick this off. So we're in a very unique situation here. So in your guys' packets, there was some information about an estate that had donated some money to, let's see, trying to get down here. So donated some money to what was called the Eden Valley Library and Activity Center. Sat down with the library board. about this, trying to figure out, okay, what was what's, trying to interpret what the actual wishes of the estate, whether it's, if there was something to be on the Eden Valley Library, if there's something on the, activity center, was it supposed to be a split? Was it, there were some questions that both the city and, myself and Cindy and the library board had about this donation. So we talked it over and we came up with a tentative agreement that, there would be a portion of it would go to the library, a portion it would come to the city for the activity center part. But there's been some other information that has come to light. So I want to bring this forward to council here, and I would like to have your thoughts. And I might ask one of the ladies to come up and speak also, so everybody's on the same page here, and we can try to figure out this. It's just a weird situation. Actually, what I'll do is, when do you guys wanna come up, and Helen? Sounds like you're already.
Did you give everybody the letter from Rita Hahn?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, we have that in our packets.
Okay, thank you, just wanted to double check. In regards to the benefactor writing a will, giving a portion of her funds to the Eden Valley Area Library Activity Center. At the time, when the library was in the makings, it was discussed to define it as the Eden Valley Area Library Activity Center, and that was the information that Ms. Gatzko had. And as a result of that, that is what was put into the will. Judy worked in a school. Her goal, her desire, her lifelong purpose is education. She left funds to the Albany Elementary Library, the Eden Valley Elementary Library, the Fire and Rescue, Anna Marie's Better Women's Shelter in St. Cloud. Her goal, her purpose, what she intended with this money was for education and safety. And with that being said, education with the books, the library, the programs that we're offering, and the fire and rescue, because, she's used that and she has a focus of education and safety. And for the city, I am grappling with how does the city fit in with getting money. And so this past year, we did not have a fundraiser. And for all practical purposes, it appears that we may not have another one. And so we're looking at losing how much money? And that would be about half of what we would be getting from this inheritance. So to split the money with the city adamantly seems so against Ms. Gatzko's intentions. And I don't know what to say, but my goal, my desire, our desire, is to honor the request that Ms. Gatzko had for the library. And that is what I request that you highly consider is her request and honor her request and allow the Eden Valley Area Library to utilize that money to provide programs that will benefit the youth, the adults, the seniors, because we do provide a lot of programs for individuals in the library. Do you have any questions?
Well, you've cut out a lot of, on the programming over the last couple of years, before the pandemic happened.
You know, and just to add to Helen's comments too, is, we did reach out to the executor of the estate, and for whatever reason, you know, they decided that, you know, they basically told both the city and the library, you guys need to work it out before the money gets dispersed. So that's why we're having this conversation. Normally, you know, at least in my simple mind, that, you know, the executor is the one that is supposed to carry out the wishes of the estate. And they're the ones that are like yay or nay, you know, to different, you know, different donations that go out or different disbursements of that estate. So, so that's why it makes this situation even that much more just off the wall. So, you wanted to say something?
Well, and I think I put in my letter, I really am not an advocate for the library. I do believe that if Judy thought it was two different places that were to receive the money, she would definitely have told what percentage she wanted. And I also believe, and like I said, it's been haunting me, because I don't usually get involved in these things, but something has been just bugging me, and after I wrote the letter and dropped it off at the city, whatever it was just left me alone. And so I just felt I had to write what I did, because I think that was her wishes.
And I really appreciate you doing that. The letter was very kind, very genuine, and it does bring, you know, since you did personally know her, did bring to light some of the thinking, perhaps, you know, some of the thinking of you know, how this person conducted their life. So, so bringing this back to council here. You know, I guess the first question is what do we do? And I'm gonna go on record and say, I don't like this situation at all. I don't like being pitted up against, you know, being pitted against an organization, especially the library. You guys have done a lot of good for the community. You guys have done a lot of wonderful things.
I think this ranks up there with canceling Valley Days.
It does.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna go on a limb and I'm gonna say this is worse.
Well, because you're dealing with kids.
Well,
And just the activities that are.
you know, yeah.
So Rita, if I'm reading this correctly, you feel that some of that money should go to other projects other than the library? Or strictly the library?
I believe her intentions were for it to go to the library.
Okay. Okay.
And I can't, you know, I'm not Judy, I didn't know she wrote a will, you know, I'm just thinking what I think she would think.
And then there is a list in here too, that states what intentions were determined. You know, book shelving, et cetera, and then the programs, field trips for kids, field trips for students, the science museum, and et cetera. So, they're good programming.
Nothing in there says about our community center.
Some of them, okay, so I think I added 2 letters there, or 2 emails. The big list that was there, that was what Lynn Snell
Right.
felt she had intended. But then when she was going through some old papers, she found a copy of the original will that they had wrote out together, because at that time she was the executor. And, so she said maybe these other things did not apply. But in the later years, that's what they discussed. And, you know, I don't know if she's seen the will or not. I have no idea.
One thing with programs that the library does, and the library is doing a great job in town, it's a very good system. also run some programs in the event center and use that for some of the activities and stuff like that. Will some of that money be used for some improvements in there? If it's comfortable furniture, like for story hour or whatever, things like that? Or is it something that makes that building more acoustical correct? So people can hear better in there as programs are put on? Or this is just some thoughts of where some of that money could be spent or whatever. You know, it looks like in all this stuff, it looks like it's designated towards the library and the activities that the library has. So, now, is there some things that can be library and event center related that makes the whole complex more user-friendly for the library putting on activities and things? Some things like that? Just some thoughts.
Because this is a trust, right? This will be a trust?
No.
No.
It's an inheritance.
It's an inheritance.
Inheritance, so, okay.
I believe that the executor or the person they've placed it in a trust right now because
Until it's resolved.
because they didn't want to make the decision.
Okay, so once we solve this, the money will be available totally? So you're not just being able to spend or receive the interest off of that money?
As president of the library, I made the request that we do not spend any money for 6 months to know exactly where we want to utilize that money, to invest it in programs, whatever it is. I don't know what we really need. And we're not gonna jump into spending that money before we have some form of structure on how we can best use that money. And we'll need to put money aside for the future too, because losing, now maybe 2 years of fundraising is almost half of what that whole donation is, or that inheritance is. So that's a lot of money.
And to answer your question, whatever decision is made and it gets sent off to Deb, the checks will be issued. It's a full check. It isn't just, every 6 months they get an interest check. It's 89,000 something, and that whole check or 2 checks or 5 checks, however it's divided, gets mailed to those people.
I kind of like Dan's idea too, that if some of that could go for improvements in the center. Because you will be using that area once this COVID gets over with. And that will be opened up.
Yeah, 'cause in the past, you guys have done your story hour, you've done different events in there.
We've also done it in the library.
Movie night, yeah. And when we talked, that was, and if you guys remember, that's kind of where my head was at, was that it's not named the activity center, it's named the community center. The idea of that was still the same as an activity center. It's where the library is able to use that back portion, to use the big open area to do their programs when they needed the space. So that's where my head was at when we were talking about that the first time around. So I mean, and I'm leaning toward, I know we kind of came to a tentative kind of like, okay, here's something we could possibly agree on, but I'm kind of wondering if we couldn't come up with something where the library could commit to a project or two in the community center for improvement, whether it's like what Dan was saying, like, some comfortable chairs for when you guys are doing story hour, or, maybe some some paintings or pictures to hang on the wall to deaden the, you know, to deaden the echo in there or something like that. Would that be something that the library board would be willing to work with the city on?
I can bring that to this, board to let them know, you know, this suggestion of maybe putting up some paintings, nice paintings. I mean, there's a number of individuals in the surrounding areas that do wonderful pieces of.
You know, and you guys still run a lot of the historical society stuff out of the library too, right? A lot of the historical stuff?
No,
No, not so much?
not so much anymore.
Okay. That was the other idea was like, you know, if you had like old pictures of like the history of Eden Valley, you know, putting some of that stuff up. And just things that deaden the sound down. Yes, Ernie?
I think we've all talked about our meetings, one of our major concerns is the acoustics in there is horrible. We brought it up at multiple different groups and meetings, so just one of my ideas is we need to do something that's sealing the acoustics. Paintings aren't gonna solve the problem with that. I think it's a good idea, but I think our priority after some of the meetings we have, we've gotta do some of the acoustics in that building just to have things in it, cause it gets so loud. We gotta have something to deaden that sound. That would be a good commitment, I think.
Improving the acoustics in there will help run some of the programs that the library wants to run in there too, and make it easier to hear in there and things like that, so. I agree with Ernie that hanging pictures on the walls will help some, but we need to get some acoustic stuff up on the ceiling, something up there that, absorbs some of the sound.
Sure, that makes sense.
I guess on this dollar amount that is in here, I think just stay in that building and work on some kind of a percentage that we feel like could go into the acoustic part of it, and then the majority of it stay with the library in their part of it. That's my thoughts anyhow.
Definitely think that, you know, and I think with our previous discussion, there was, you know, the majority of it was going to, I mean, we were just asking for a smaller, you know, a small portion of it. We weren't asking for you know, for much, even though we, you know, what the library's footprint is and what the city's footprint is kind of, you know, inversed on the monetary situation. But I mean, if you could, I know you guys are probably looking for an answer tonight, but I really want to be able to come to a nice amicable solution. And you know.
What I could do is bring this to the board and then return to the CFCRI next month.
Well.
Sorry.
Well,
I can come back to the city council and present the information.
well, we do have a workshop in 2 weeks. You know, I think you guys are, I think if I remember right, you guys were looking to try to resolve this quickly.
I believe we were, if my memory serves me, around March. By the time we get things, you know, all squared away.
So we got a little bit of time to go back and forth and figure things out. Okay.
So do we have a cost for baffles in that ceiling?
I don't know.
There was one once, but that was years ago. I found something, but that was a long time ago, and I don't know what.
Somebody did measurements of the room and priced material, and I don't remember, it was a couple $1,000 that he had calculated. I don't know what it all entailed, but it would be nice to maybe get a little bit more of an investigation as to
How much?
what is the most cost-effective and useful acoustic system without breaking the bank.
Oh, absolutely. I know that sound deadening or sound acoustic stuff can get expensive really fast. Zach, hate to put you on the spot here again, but would you be willing to work with the library and you know, try to figure out a good estimate on, or come up with a couple of estimates on?
We'll try to get something figured out before the next workshop meeting.
Yeah, if you could.
So we could.
What, you said 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks.
Wednesday?
Yep.
Okay.
I would like to formally ask you guys, invite you guys back for that.
One thing with that, we don't wanna go just halfway on the acoustic part. If we wanna do something, spend the money and do it right.
Yeah.
One of the things we've already done for the event center is to put in those automatic doors,
Mhm.
handicap doors. So, you know, we are working to make that center nice. So
Yep.
that is basically what we want to do because it represents all of us, the city, everybody in it, whether you use the library or the event center. It represents who we are as a community.
And that was a grant, correct? You guys wrote the grant, and
Yeah.
that was nice. Thank you.
Yeah, those turned out really nice. So. All right. Anything else there, Helen?
Not at this time that I can
Okay.
think of, so I have February 17th returning here, and it's not a crime.
24th.
Oh, would it be,
It's the calmest thing that we've been told today, so we're okay with that.
no, it would be the 17th. Yep, yep,
No, you're right, 24th is expired.
yep,
what I was thinking.
yeah, there you go, yep.
That's what I was thinking of. Sorry.
All right. I do appreciate you guys coming in.
You're welcome, thank you.
All right, now if I can just get back to.
Thank you, Rita, for all your input. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I don't know if you come back to haunt me or what.
No,
My husband has done that, so.
and I really appreciate you speaking up and saying something, even if it wasn't a written letter, that was very nice. So.
I just think, you know, if I were dead, I wouldn't want somebody disputing what I felt, you know, or what I designated, so. Otherwise you come back and haunt them. Thank you very much for your time.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, have a good evening. All right, so Kent, we're gonna put you on the spot now.
Okay. So we had our open house a couple weeks ago. Had about a dozen property owners show up. If you guys have gone through my memo or not, but basically the big topics were the street width. Are we planning to replace trees that are coming down? Concerns about the drainage and how that will change after the project's done. Some concerns about access during construction and how long it's going to take. And the last meeting of the night was about use of the driveway for a handicap accessible vehicle. So overall, I think the discussion at the open house was about what we expected. You know, we tried to explain to them why we wanted to put the 36-foot wide street in there and so on. I guess from my perspective, I would recommend we continue to move forward with the way we have the streets laid out, centered in the right of way, 36 feet wide and so on. Regarding the driveway with the handicapped vehicle, that concern, I'm not aware of any specific accessibility requirements on private property. You know, I think that would be up to the private property owner as to whether they would build their driveway and so on to meet the ADA code, okay? Public property, that's a whole different, that's obvious, we deal with that all the time. Most handicap accessible parking stalls are 20 feet deep, and they are at a slope of 2% or flatter. Their driveway, if we put the street where we have it planned right now, their driveway at this 487 Maple would be about 20 feet long from the curb to the garage.
What would be the slope? Would it be at that, would you say 2%?
It would be, their existing driveway is steeper than 2%.
Okay, all right.
But if we leave that in place, we're not changing it, you know, so that's kind of how I've thought about it. If we leave as much of that existing driveway in place as we can, we don't change the slope.
Is the street staying at the same level?
The curb will be a little bit lower,
Lower,
so
okay.
there will have to be a a short piece of steeper driveway to sort of match back into the old stuff, if that makes sense.
If it's already at 20 feet, is that, I'm just trying to think like.
Yep, yep.
Is that gonna, you know, when they're trying to disembark from the vehicle, is like the back tire is gonna be in a position that's gonna make it hard for them to get out?
It will be close, right, without knowing the specifics of the vehicle and how they operate it. They should be able to park the vehicle on the flatter part of the driveway,
Good enough for me.
right? And not trying to tell the property owner how to, you know, navigate their own driveway and whatnot. There should be room in the garage. There should be, it's an awfully wide driveway too. I know the south stall of the garage is set back a couple more feet. So there would be room there. Additional driveway there if the other part of the driveway was, you know, felt too short for them to use.
And I know we don't, and I know we've talked, and you knew I was gonna, you know, I brought up the whole tree thing. I knew that was gonna come up.
Yep.
Do you have a chance to check with the DNR at all?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any programs that offer seedlings that your residents are going to value.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No, I
What
get,
you're
yeah.
taking to what you're replacing.
Right,
That's
right.
what
Just as an example, we put in some trees along Highway 22 with that project. And looking back at what those cost and kind of trying to project to current day dollars, $400 to $500 for a tree that's a 2-inch in diameter and on the trunk, you know. And you could specify whatever varieties you wanted. And that's something we could put into, you know, the project to have the contractor do it and so on.
I was just looking for something, a cheap way for the residents to, you know,
No,
like one of those little saplings or something like that you get for a buck, you know.
right,
They could buy 50 of them, you know, try their luck. I know that
Right.
sounds kind of, I know it sounds kind
Let's
of
just say
crass.
no to that and just move on.
All right.
I'm not aware of any funding out there to replace trees, no.
Okay. I know, Troy.
I got a kick out of it.
Well, you know, I have my moments.
Asked, I
And-
don't think we did.
Just to be clear on that,
We did.
the council is not interested in trying to include replacement trees in the project. Okay. Okay.
I don't think we could ever get it right.
I don't
It's
think.
never gonna be the right tree, it's not gonna be in the right spot.
And the tree's, you know, the tree's gonna go, you know, the tree's gonna die, and then it's,
Yeah.
you know.
All of that,
I guess
yep.
my idea was that if the residents want it, they could, you know, here's where you can go to get a cheap tree to replace what this, you know, what the project took out. If you wanted the tree back, but no, the city wouldn't pay to replace.
Yeah, because we'd be getting them from a nursery, having, you know,
Yeah.
the whole,
Have a warranty on them,
Whole
and having
thing.
somebody install them, yeah.
right.
I know, Cindy. It's,
No, I'm in agreement with you. There's nothing wrong with putting it out there. If they wanna go and get a tree,
yeah.
they can get a tree, but we don't
I
plan.
wonder if we couldn't just, you know, strike up maybe a deal with one of the local nurseries during the project to say, hey, we might point a bunch of, you know, there might be some people that might come your way. You know, maybe they would work out,
No, I don't think you can
No.
designate that, right? I don't think you can. I don't think
Through
you
the
can say you should go there, cause we'll get you, I don't think that works on a
Oh,
federal.
yeah, I
don't think that works.
I get where you're saying, I get where you're going. Yeah,
Don't make
ethically,
it part of that.
no, not part of the project, but.
Right.
Not part of the
if it-
project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, usually if you get tied up in it though, then they're gonna say the city said, and it
Oh.
just,
Yeah, okay, yeah, you know
gets
what?
to be an ugly thing.
Strike that then.
And then, just to kind of finish up on the driveway with the handicap access. I think it may be a good idea to visit with them, the property owner again, and just talk about where we're at with it. What does the council think about that?
But the person doesn't live there that's using that handicap.
That is correct.
So how many times in a month does this person come to visit? And it's not gonna sit there for weeks and weeks, the van either. It's probably just a one-day.
That changes my thinking then, because I thought that person, I thought the
No.
person that needed the handicap, needed the stall, or needed that setup lived there. And if that's,
Am I wrong?
then.
Does not live there.
He does not live there.
Then
They
that's.
just needed
then
an
that's not
area.
up- I hate to be crass about it, but then that's not up to the city to accommodate a visitor to somebody that lives there.
It doesn't live there.
Or
Yeah.
I'm trying to word that the right way.
The visitor doesn't live there.
The visitor doesn't live there, so why would the city accommodate for that visitor? That, who knows, they might not become friends in 6 months and.
It's a family member.
No, I don't think that's.
Well, yeah.
But I think to your point, Ken, I mean, it's not a bad idea, because, I mean, if you guys don't have a problem, I'll go talk to them, since I talked to them already, just to let them know kind of what came up with. I think it's the right thing to do, not to all of a sudden surprise them and be like, we're ripping everything apart. I just think on the city side, I think it's a responsible thing to do, is just to tell them, hey, this is the direction
I agree.
that we chose to take, and I know it's not what you're looking for, but, this is kind of what's happening. I don't have a problem doing it. I mean,
Maybe a
it's,
good idea, just open communication with the.
well, yeah, I mean, they were nice enough to come in, express their concerns, and, I mean, I did go out and look at it, Zach did come too, and, I mean, we looked at every angle of it, just trying to, make sure we're crossing everything the way we should be doing it, I just think it's the right thing to do. So, I mean, if you guys don't have an issue, I'll go talk to them, and I guess that would be my issue, I don't have a problem doing it.
So Kent, you had in your memo here about drainage issues. The people that you talked to about that, were they happy with that we're gonna be potentially resolving some of those issues?
Some of them, yes. It depends who I was talking to.
Okay.
The folks that, their properties abut Coleman, so those folks seemed satisfied with the answers they were getting, that, we're putting inlets in, either in the road or even, in that case, behind the road, to take the water that's coming, to the north there. I'm talking across the street from the apartments, basically.
Okay.
So we can't physically move the road low enough to have all of that water from the yards come into the road. The driveways would just be ridiculously steep if that were the case. So what we're gonna have to do is put like just an inlet in the yard, behind the street, and drain that into the new storm sewer. So we'll be taking a lot of the yard drainage into the storm sewer. There was discussion about the ditch east of Bell Street. From at least 2-3 people that were there. 2 of them own property there, and one of them, Leander, owns property where the culvert comes under Coleman. I told both of them that we weren't doing any drainage improvements to the ditch. They were hoping to see something happen, I think, from a city level, as far as what is the solution for the ditch problem going to be. But that's not really
That's not gonna be.
where
that's
that
not part of this
conversation.
project, But it is something that we're trying to figure out.
So we told them that, and there wasn't much more we could say beyond that.
Well, okay, so they said they had issues with sanitary drainage. Isn't that on slab, that house?
Can you tell me where you're reading that?
It's on your memo,
Leander's.
Leander?
Leander, yeah.
And in water.
The sewer will be deeper there.
The sewer is really shallow, coming from his house.
sanitary.
So he has maybe had issues with freezing and just
Oh,
slope of
freezing
the
and
pipe
that,
in the
okay,
past.
that makes sense.
The new
We talked
sewer will
about
be
that.
deeper there, that will be addressed, yep,
Yeah, we talked about that.
yep. Otherwise, that's, kind of the Cliff Notes version of the conversations we had with the property owners there. So we're planning to continue working through the design. I was talking with Zach just before the meeting here about trying to get together with him, and go through the plans. So, everybody's on the same page about what's in the project. And we'll keep it moving from there.
Because the plans really haven't changed since you had the meeting
Correct.
with the two groups of the council.
Correct,
right?
yeah, we're working through, you know, the details of the storm design, how big do the pipes need to be and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't think we would want to make any change, based off of this. I don't see anything in there that would be a red flag where we'd have to pause and change something.
No, I thought it was a good turnout. I thought a lot of, you know, it was actually pretty decent, and the questions that people had were valid, and, I think they were addressed appropriately, and, I mean, you're not gonna make everybody happy, but at the same time, I think we're addressing a lot of the issues that need to be done, so, yeah, I think it was, I think it went well. Thought Kent and Alex did a really nice job, and Zach just sat there and nodded his head. Sorry.
Being recorded.
All right,
That's all I have, unless you have anything else for me.
I do not. Anybody else got anything for Kent?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kent.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Cindy.
I have the bills, or you have the bills in front of you. So I need approval on them.
I did not see one in there for Thielen.
I don't believe this time there was one. Okay.
Anybody?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion by Troy,
I'll second that motion.
second by Jan. Any last minute discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay.
The other thing I had is just to let you know, I mean, part of, as clerk treasurer, is to, on occasion, I need to transfer funds from the checking account to our off savings, or the forum fund, and I did do that of $150,000. It's to keep the balance here at a level that we need to stay for the bank requirements, so. And I had to have signatures, so two of you were already on that, because I have to have two signatures, and we took off Darla, so the only one here is myself, so thank you to both of you.
Yeah, thanks, Dan, for covering for me.
Audit is the week of the 15th, and so they're Zooming and off-site, so they may call one of you. They have all of your phone numbers, so. They haven't chosen a particular person yet to talk to, but they will. That's it.
All right, anybody have anything for Cindy? Okay, we'll move on to Zach.
I got a little bit on, for the ditch. We had a little meeting with, Soil or Sauk River Watershed. And I'll have a better report in, at the workshop meeting for you, a little more in detail on what we all covered there, and, yeah. Other than that, yeah, busy with maintenance, fixing stuff.
Took the Christmas stuff down,
Christmas stuff is all put away, yeah.
and kind of nice weather before it got too cold. That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything for me?
Anybody got anything for Zach?
Yeah, Zach already.
No? All right, then we'll move on to Ernie.
I emailed you all the monthly report a little bit late, just been, stuff going on right now, so I apologize if everybody got it correct. If you did, it's in your email. We did get 2 people hired, I got approval from the council on that. We hired Kevin Borshag, also the Meeker County deputy, and we also hired Kim Wood. She's the chief over in Clare City, so. she's pretty much gonna be filled for special events, probably not gonna do a lot of road stuff. but, Yeah, so it's good to have a female on the roster, that's
And,
probably the first female ever, actually.
and Borshide, he lives in town here, right?
He does, he
Right,
lives
right over, okay, all right, that's what I
Yeah,
thought it
he's a
was.
good pickup, he's a real good pickup, so. Other than that, we had a pretty busy week last week, probably seen some of the stuff we had going Wednesday night, the chase and all that all ended, so. Yeah, old dog still got tricks, so.
There you go.
I don't got anything else, unless you got something for me.
All right.
How's the
anything-
parking on streets and stuff going?
Good, other than north on, 395 with old Plattsburghs, we issued citations on those vehicles. They're still parking there, they're saying they have nowhere to go off street, cause there's no room to park there. So if the council wants to take.
It's not our problem, though. That's the renter's problem.
I get that.
Yeah.
I talked to Cindy and I talked, and she probably's already sent the letter out, I'm guessing. Or
Yeah,
working
and I
on it.
did talk to the owner.
So you and I haven't had a chance to talk
Yeah.
about that, but, so we're trying to work through it, I mean, they could park down the street in the public parking lot if they have to, I guess. I don't know, there really is no off-street parking there, but that, we already cited them, so, I mean, next thing's gonna happen, we get towed. I mean, probably have more people here screaming at you, but unless the council's got some ideas on it.
Well, one thing with that is, we got an ordinance on no parking, let's enforce it, or get rid of it. And we got it, it's there for a reason, so let's enforce it.
Well, we either do that, or we get rid of it, or, go back, when we went to the overnight thing, 15, 18 years ago now, we just, if you allow it, you're gonna have a lot more issues with snow removal, that's kinda why we did it in the first place.
Right.
We had a lot of issues trying to get cars off, and that saved a lot, we have a few occasional, but it's been really good this
I think
year.
even on Main Street, you got some, huh?
There's usually one, but they're gonna get a ticket too, so we're working on that. And then the biggest problem is the same thing, is like, well, I don't have any off-street parking, that's really not our problem. I mean, we do it in the winter, and there's a reason why we do it. It obviously helps our snow removal, it helps with plows, and, it works. So, yeah, so other than that, we're working in the right direction, I think.
All right, anything else for me? No? All right, any comments from council? No? All right, then upcoming meetings, February 17th will be a workshop. That'll be, I'd be here in person. And then on February 24th, that'll be our annual Fire City Township meeting. There is a location change. That will not be at the fire hall, that will be at the community center. So that way we can spread out a little bit more and still be able to conduct that meeting in person. And then our next council meeting will be March 3rd, 7 p.m. here at City Hall. Did I miss anything, Cindy? All right.
Sounds good.
All right, then with that in mind, I adjourn this meeting.